Ever stopped and wondered what's really going on behind a price tag? It's not just some random number. Nope. It's a secret message, a strategic weapon, even. All right, let's dive in and decode this whole hitting strategy of pricing. I mean, think about it for a second. A simple, plain t-shirt. Why would one cost 10 times more than another? And believe me, the answer isn't just about the quality of the cotton. No way. It's about a really deliberate, calculated decision that reveals everything about what a company is trying to achieve. So the reason this gets so complex is that pricing has basically become the central battleground for modern business. I'm serious. It's where companies are fighting for survival, for dominance. Let's take a look at why that is. Just think about it, right? When your product is kind of the same as your competitors, when the market is super crowded, and when you, the customer, use price as a shortcut to judge quality, well, all of a sudden, that little number on the tag becomes one of your most powerful weapons. Okay, so before a company even thinks about a number, they have to answer this one huge question. What is this price supposed to do? What's its mission? And that right there, that's the real starting point for any pricing strategy. And that mission? It almost always falls into one of four main buckets. Is the goal to make the absolute most profit possible? Is it to sell a ton of units? Or maybe just to stay in line with the competition? Or is it all about creating an image of pure, untouchable luxury? All right, let's break them down. First step, we've got profitability. This one is pretty straightforward. Some companies are just laser focused on making the most money on every single thing they sell. Think of a big pharma company with a brand new patented drug. They're going to calculate the exact price that delivers the biggest possible profit. It's pure, simple, bottom line thinking. But then for other companies, it's all about the long game. Their goal is to totally dominate the market by maximizing sales. A perfect example is Amazon in its early days, right? Or think of a budget airline. They'll set a super low price to sell as much as they can, grab that market share, and bet that that will lead to bigger profits way down the road. And then you have this kind of neutral strategy, meeting the competition. Here, a company basically says, you know what? We're not going to fight on price. They just match whatever their rivals are doing. Think about how major cell phone carriers often have super similar plan prices. It lets them try to win you over with other stuff, like better service or a cooler brand. They just take price right off the table. And finally, the last one, prestige. I mean, the perfect example is a brand like Rolex. For them, the high price is the whole point. It's not just a watch, it's a signal. It screams luxury, exclusivity, quality. The price itself literally becomes a key feature of the product. Okay, so the company has its mission. That's the why. But where does the actual number come from? How do they land on that final price tag? Well, that brings us to the three main ways companies actually go about setting a price. All right, first up is what we call the cost-based approach, or pricing from the inside out. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's all about looking at the company's own internal numbers. And the logic here, it could not be simpler. You figure out exactly what it costs to make and sell your product, then you just add a standard amount on top for your profit. That's your markup. So cost plus markup equals price. Boom, done. Now, the great thing about this method is, it's simple, and it absolutely guarantees you cover your costs. But, and this is a huge but, the major drawback is that it's completely blind to the outside world. It totally ignores what customers are actually willing to pay, and it pays zero attention to what your competitors are doing. And that can be a fatal mistake. All right, so the second approach completely flips the script. This is the buyer-based approach, or pricing from the outside in. And this one doesn't start with the company's costs at all. Nope, it starts inside the customer's mind. So here's the crucial idea. You have a price floor. That's your cost. If you go below that, you're losing money, obviously. But then there's a ceiling, and that's the absolute maximum a customer thinks your product is worth. The perfect price has to live somewhere in between those two, and this approach is all about finding that ceiling. But what happens when your decisions aren't really about your own costs, or even your customers? What if it's all about your rivals? Well, that brings us to our third and final method, the competition-based approach. So when you're basing your price on what the other guys are doing, it usually takes one of two forms. You're either following the herd with going rate pricing, or you're trying to outsmart them in a bidding war with sealed bid pricing. Okay, so going rate pricing is super common. Just think about gas stations or even basic groceries at the supermarket. Everybody charges roughly the same thing, right? It's a way to avoid these crazy destructive price wars and just keep the market stable. You pretty much just follow the leader. Sealed bid pricing, on the other hand, is much more of a high-stakes guessing game. Imagine you're bidding for a huge construction contract. You have to set your price based on what you think your competitors are going to bid. If you go too high, you lose the job. But if you go too low, you win, but you lose money. It's a total strategic tightrope walk. So now, after going through all these pieces, you've basically got a new superpower. A pricing X-ray, if you will. You can look at almost any product on a shelf and start to see the skeleton of the strategy hiding just underneath. And really, it all boils down to this simple two-step strategy. Step 1, a company defines its objective. That's the why. Step 2, it chooses its approach. That's the how. Is it based on their own costs, what the buyer thinks, or what the competition is up to? The big takeaway here is that price is never, ever just a number. It's a story. It's a strategic decision that tells you everything about a company's goals, its place in the market, and who they think you are. So here's a little challenge for you. Next time you buy something, anything, doesn't matter if it's a cup of coffee or a new car, just take a second, look at that price tag, and ask yourself, what's the strategy here? Can you spot it?